And the
podcast
begins with a song of rebellion.
How can this
podcast
be my life?
CD Burners.
Welcome to the podcast, another white guy music podcast. We talk about albums from the past. Most of them are good, but some are really, 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 really bad. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show, and help us get some motherfucking subs. Sometimes we think albums suck, but then we have to talk to the band. So we try real hard to not be dicks, but sometimes we still are. So welcome to the podcast. We record 2 in a day. Fuck you. Fuck you. CD Burners.
That's great.
Should we switch the intro?
Maybe.
Officially?
Yeah. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Maybe we can add it at the beginning and then just, how can this podcast be my life?
Yeah. Let's just do that.
All right.
I mean, because we have 2, so we should just do that. So if you guys like that one, fuck it. I think we should add, because there's 2 really good podcast songs that we made, and we'll try. We could do a poll. I want to do a poll or something where we give them both, and we're like, which one do you guys like more?
Okay.
Because they're both really good.
Yeah, we should put them up. I like them.
Can we put them up on like the broadcast thing?
Yeah, maybe. All right. Well, guys, welcome back to another White Guy podcast. CD Burners. Burnin' CDs.
We record 2 in a day.
Today, we are talking about movements. Feel something.
Yeah, this is a big one.
This is a really, really fun one because we are personally involved in this.
We are personally involved in...
You are, especially.
Well, you
we'll
are.
get to it.
Yeah,
we'll get to it. But this album came out October 20th, 2017 on Fearless Records. This is the debut studio album from Movements. These motherfuckers, dude, they got signed after one show.
What show?
They played one show with Have Mercy at Chain Reaction.
I used to play Have Mercy all the time at Emo Night. I loved that. I loved that song, To Convey.
Yeah, they're good.
Have Mercy was like, that was another album that like I couldn't listen to on the airplane. It was too sad. It was really, really fucking good. But yes, they got signed after one show, is how goddamn good Movements are.
That is just unfair.
I don't know if it is.
I know. I mean, props to the A&R at Fearless who really just saw it and got it and did it. But like, goddamn.
Imagine if they fucked up, dude. Imagine if that like Fearless A&R fucked up and it was just like so like that flopped and that was like their one thing.
Yeah.
They're like, no, you got to do this, and they're like, all right, dude, we're taking a chance.
Yeah.
But now I bet he goes around the office like this every day. Yeah.
I mean, that's a crazy. I don't. It's probably listed in here who the A&R is. We'll have to find it. But that's an incredible thing that person did, to be able to spot this band off of their limited releases and to get them to sign a 3-album deal with Fearless, and all of the albums that they've put out are something special.
Yeah,
but I think this is the crown jewel.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Look, you also said something earlier, like, yeah, they put this out in 2017, and then they're playing When We Were Young, right? So, you know, most of the bands on there put out albums in
2007,
2007, shit like that. To have a band go on and play something in full that came out in 2017 with all those other bands kind of speaks volumes for how good and like legendary this album is, and what it did for, you know, people and the music space. And I gotta tell you, like at the time, like I knew they were awesome. I really liked them. I really liked Movements, and I still really like Movements. And I didn't realize how impactful it was, because this is sort of the music that I listen to. Like this is in the vein of like Title Fight and Tiger's Jaw and that, I didn't, and I think that why it was so revered is because a lot of stuff came out in between those albums that I just mentioned, and it didn't hit you in the way that this album did. It's like you were waiting for another fucking head in the ceiling fan or another I Saw Water, you know, to like really listen to those songs and be like, oh, this guy feels it. This is not we are a band that's going to write songs because we have to write songs and that's our job. You're like, oh, this is a real thing.
This is a really personal album, and it's really rare, and you can feel the raw, honest poetry, open, real emotion. Like Patrick just lets it all fucking out. And this dude, he's somebody who has openly talked about his struggles with anxiety, OCD, depression. And, you know, I think at the time of this recording, he was like 19, 20 years old, maybe. And I don't know how he did it. I don't know how this band did it. Because they're just fucking kids. And this sounds like it came from somebody who has seen some shit.
It's literally it's such a mature album. And that's what I'm saying. Like, we just did another album, and then compared to like that album to this album, I was like, fuck, dude, maybe. And that's why I wasn't like so jazzed about the fucking first one we did, because I was like, I listened to that after this, and it's really hard to go from any album after listening to this one. This album feels like you like forgot to take your Lexapro.
Yeah.
It like, dude, this album.
This was before he was on meds.
No, it feels like you personally forgot to take your Lexapro.
Yeah.
It feels like, dude, I bet this spawned fucking like hundreds of people cutting their bangs. You know what I mean? Like, that's like what this.
Still, yeah.
I listened to this on the way down to Orange County.
Yeah.
And I was like, I should take my foot off the gas.
Yeah.
I was like, I should take my foot off the gas and close my eyes. I should just Tyler Durden this fucking car and like into the.
I'm glad you didn't.
Yeah, I know, but it's like you really. It's, you know, it's called Feel Something, and you're like, I do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I do that.
This album's fucking awesome. Fast facts about this album.
Yeah, let's hear it.
First show was at Chain Reaction, March 2015, with Have Mercy. Second fast fact I have: the song "Colorblind" music video was directed by Morgan Freed.
Did Joni put that in the?
No, I did it.
Oh, okay. No.
I was like, how'd you miss that, Joni?
Yeah, we directed the Colorblind video and the original Daylily video. And
Daylily one didn't see the light of day.
The Daylily one didn't see.
It's actually on our Patreon. We did put it up on our Patreon during COVID.
Dude, it's an awesome video. But listening back to like what the song is about, and really like re-listening to this album, and like I wasn't offended, you know. I think that they put out a shittier video, like looking wise, but I think it fits more with what the song is about. But the video that we did was amazing. It was a one-shot, really personal video. I'm really interested to. I never asked why they didn't put it out, but I think that it might have been like it was very personal about every member of the band. It was like a very, very, like almost two. Like, and I think for a band that's just coming out that wants to, I agree. I'm saying I agree with them. While I think that the video I did kicks way more ass than the video that they put out for it, I think it was appropriate that they put out the video that they did. And I would be really interested to see if they would come back and be like, we should put this out just to see what it was like and say why we didn't do it. And like, because it was a hard video to pull off because it was one shot and there was a lot of stuff happening.
It's actually kind of a smart idea for bands to put out multiple videos for the same song, especially years apart, because then you get to get all the fucking AdSense on YouTube. You get another push. Like, why don't more bands do that? I
don't know. I'd be really interested to know, like, why they didn't choose this one. I think it was probably because it was too personal. And
well, if you guys want to see it, it's on our Patreon.
Yeah,
you got to dig. Like, it's pretty far back, but if you search, you can see the original Daylily music video.
It's fucking sick. Dude, I did Colorblind. I didn't realize at the time, like I put a lot of effort into that video. Like,
it's a good video.
Yeah, it was really cool. And this was like 2017, so I had done a couple of videos before this, but it was a really small budget. Really small budget. And it was like a real all hands on deck. And it was a lot of stuff, again, that we had to do live. Like the chances that I was taking with music videos was when I was like, I give a fuck about this stuff. I give a fuck about the art. I give a fuck about how it looks like and what the meaning is behind it, all these little things to it. And I really think that we did that with that video. It was, you know, again, I think we did it with like $5,000 or something, you know, like not a lot. And, you know, nobody got paid. Everybody was like helpful with it. It was a really good experience. And the guys, you know, getting to know the guys then was awesome. They, you know, I've read a lot of stuff about them. We're lucky enough to know them, but they are really, really, really great guys, every single one of them. And they're all very different, you know, and you can tell all of their personalities are different. All of the, you know, you listen to this album, you're like, oh, they're inspired from a lot of different things. And I think that that's true. You know, I think I read an interview with one of these guys, but they all have different inspirations. Austin and Patrick love a lot of heavy music and hard rock. Ira likes weird jazzy stuff. And Spencer is a prog rock metal enthusiast. So it makes for a very interesting combination when they're writing it, but it really does work in their favor.
It's incredibly vulnerable. It's blunt. It's real. Listening to some of these interviews with Patrick from this period of his life versus now, he sounds so different. Like, I don't really know Patrick that well. I've just met him in passing, and, you know, he's done Emo Night a couple times. But listening to how he sounds on the 2018 interview with Shane Told versus a 2023, December 2023 interview with Joel Madden, he sounds so different. And I think a lot of it has to do with, he said, getting on medication, getting on Prozac. He said that really changed a lot for him. But you can hear how much he grew up as a person.
Well, dude, how old was he?
He's 19, and now he's like 24.
So it's like, imagine that growth period is so fucked. And dude, like, they lived through the pandemic. Like, they were growing up being in a band that was getting big.
They were on main stage Warped Tour 2018.
People fuck with this band, dude.
The year before that, they were on small, like, Full Sail stage, and then the year after that, they got the offer to do main stage.
I think the biggest compliment I can give to this album, the like, you know, in general, is that rarely will you listen to an album first listen all the way through and feel like you've known it forever. It feels like a nostalgic album the first listen through.
Yeah, like you said, it fits on when we were young, and it's incredibly mature, and it came out 10 years after the majority of those fucking other albums that we're talking about or that are being played on that festival, and nobody bats an eye. Like, it feels so grown up and so wise beyond its years.
And they also, you know, they came out like at the same time when it was like peak emo night too. It was like peak emo night.
It was.
And
I was so at the beginning of this podcast, we were complimenting the A&R. So I dug into the liner notes here, and I found his name. His name is Cody. He works at Fearless, obviously. And I searched his name in my inbox, and I can see when he reached out. Actually, I think Babs reached out initially.
Yeah, Babs really was
she really liked
movements. She got us into movements. And, you know, it was really something very cool for us to be a part of, you know, at that time. Like, it was a very exciting period in our lives. And I'm sure it was a really exciting period in their lives, too.
So 2016, we get hit up from Cody saying he's a big fan of Emo Night and he wants Movements to play at the Echo. And we paid them $600. And it says $600 and free beer. And then... dude, here's the flyer. It was actually July 5th, 2016. It still says Taking Back Tuesday on it.
God, that was a long time ago, dude.
So long ago?
Dude, and then they played Emo Night Day.
They did play Emo Night Day, I think, in 2018.
Yeah, which, by the way, if anybody on Wikipedia is watching this, fuck you. Give us our own goddamn Wikipedia page. You know how many goddamn fucking bands I've looked through that's mentioned Emo Night, have played Emo Night, have referenced Emo Night, have done everything. And for fuck's sake, dude, I'll donate to you. I'll give you $5.
Yeah,
I'll do the donate thing if you let us on Wikipedia.
Please, Wikipedia mods, because you can't make your own page.
Yeah, someone do it for us.
Please.
Yeah, because we can't do it. And it's
I actually had to edit this one, but now it's going to get re-edited because I'm involved. But it said like Movements played a DJ set at Emo Night Day, and they did not play a DJ set. They played a full band set. I edited it.
So anyway, you guys, if any of you guys work for or know anybody at Wikipedia, I'll donate. I'll give you literally whatever. Just make us a fucking Wikipedia page. Cocksuckers.
This album was produced by Will Yip, and this man is a legend.
Legendary.
His album credits are just incredible. Circa Survive, Code Orange, Balance and Composure, Law Dispute, Me Without You, Turnover, Turnstile, both of the turns.
Just like my favorite. There's like all of
the
my
Wonder
favorite
Years,
shit.
Wicca
Like,
Phase.
dude, just all of the best shit. Will Yip is the man. So I DM'd him.
Did you?
I DM'd him a couple days ago, and I was like, "Hey, dude, we do this podcast. Like, I want to talk to you about some shit." And so we've been texting. I've been texting Will, and I wanted to do an interview with him before we did this podcast to surprise you, but it didn't line up.
Yeah.
So, but we'll get him for maybe for this one or for something else because
I would love to talk to him.
Dude, he's fucking awesome. He also is, he's just a killer, dude. He's mentioned Law Dispute, and that's the thing. This was like, if you went into this album, if you went in to Feel Something without knowing anything about it, and you were a fan of that, like all the title fight stuff, and I heard them really getting compared to like the first time that anybody ever listened to Brand New.
I heard that too. I read that a lot, but I don't hear it
I don't hear it either, but I think it's the feeling. I think it's like the feeling.
It feels like Devil and God.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound like it.
It doesn't sound like it. But
it feels like it.
But there are like people that were like, I felt the same way that I, when I first listened to like Hyperview or The Devil and God. And then, you get into the end of the first song and it's got this like Law Dispute spoken word thing.
So much spoken word all over this album.
It's awesome. And dude, I used to annoy my ex-girlfriend by doing Law Dispute.
I think I saw you in my sleep,
darling. I was like, I think we have to go to lunch, darling. And she'd be like, can you stop doing that? I'd be like, I have to go to work. Like, she was like, dude, just stop doing Law Dispute voice about everything. I'd do it in public. She was so fucking pissed.
I didn't look at Will Yip's credits until after I listened to this album a few times. And I kept getting Me Without You, This band sounds like Me Without You.
That was a band I didn't really.
You didn't listen to Me Without You?
Not too much.
Fucking good band. And I saw them open for Brand New a bunch. They used to tour together a bunch.
Shit, should I go back and...
You would love Me Without You.
Damn, all right, I'll go back.
And then I saw it on Will Yip's credits, and I was like, everything is adding up.
Will Yip.
I heard he's a very positive guy.
He sounds really positive when I'm talking to him.
On the interview that Patrick did with Joel Madden, they were talking about how incredibly positive Will is and how he's basically become now like a fifth member of Movements. I guess with the first two albums, they would write the songs and then bring it into the studio with Will. But with Ruckus, which this podcast is not about, they went in with nothing.
Which, by the way, Ruckus kicks ass.
And they were just like,
Ruckus. Yeah.
Will, why don't you just write the song with us?
Yeah, it's cool. Ruckus is really cool. And I really it was another thing that I really admired Patrick and the band for was like their art direction. And, this is 2017, dude. Like, skinny jeans were out. The fucking relaxed fit was in. Like, these cool younger kids were, they got introduced. If this is the first thing that they heard from a band like this from in the scene, they were like, already pretty fucking cool and is really interesting. They came out at a time where like people could, started doing reaction videos to listening to this full album on the internet. And, there's a lot of them out there that like there are people just like smiling and crying at the same time listening to this full album. And it does, watching somebody's reaction, their facial reaction, listening to these songs for the first time, you get it. Like, you really get this album and why it's so important and why it means so much to so many people. Because like, that's the way that you feel when you listen to this album. You're like, this is so good and so sad, but also so good. And the way that Patrick, singers scream to just scream sometimes. And like, I think Patrick intentionally, is screaming with intention.
Well, he made a conscious decision with this album to scream less.
Well, yeah, but so when he does scream,
Yeah.
it's in the parts where you're like, he couldn't have done it any better.
I also learned that he's a classically trained vocalist.
I didn't know that. Oh, I did read this. So, he said, Will Yip's first words to me when we started tracking were, dude, what the fuck? It sounds like you have auto-tune on your voice right now, and I haven't turned anything on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
He joined choir, I guess, when he was in middle school, and then like that was when he really sort of leaned into singing. And his whole family is like musically inclined, I guess, except his dad. Incredibly talented human being.
You know that I'm not like as much of a lyric guy as you are, but like
Sure.
These ones, I think that he did such a good job at describing what depression feels like without being a fucking dork about it, right? Like, you can really do it.
It's not like melodramatic or anything.
It's not fucking corny. It's not corny. And I think that that's why it also people really resonated with it, because there's a lot of different ways you can talk about it. And a lot of it comes off like pretty fucking cornball shit. And he did it in a way that wasn't that. But at the same time, he was like, hey, this sucks dick right now. And in the same breath goes, but I know that this will be okay. And like, when Patrick says it, you believe it. And throughout the whole album, those aren't the words that he said.
Right.
He's not,
but that's like the tone.
That's the tone of this album. And so I think that that's why a lot of people really resonated with it, because they're like, oh, I believe it. I feel like this. He believes that this can get better. So I believe that this can get better.
I was just on fucking Instagram today, and a Movement's reel popped up for me, and it was them performing Daylily at a festival in the UK like this weekend, and I'm just going to show you because it's fucking awesome. Insane.
I mean, it's just, the thing is like, is it more than other bands are doing? No. But is it more intentional and with intention that makes it better than what other bands are doing? Yeah. Like, there's something to it that it's hard to put your finger on unless you listen to it and see it. Like, that hits so much harder than if a band was like, going way all out, like fucking going crazy and like really that to me,
that hits you in the feels.
Yeah. It really fucks you up. Like, it really fucks you up.
It's crazy because it's not about the production. It's not about the stage show. It's just raw emotion being expressed from the fucking heart. Like, there's no LED screens. There's no fucking visuals. Like, that is just purely about the song, the delivery, and like connecting with people through the music.
Yeah, you kind of described it like that's why the album, I feel like, is such a fucking staple. Is like, yeah, it's all of those things, the delivery and the feeling of it. And, this album, to Will Yip's credit, like, was one of the best sounding albums that we've reviewed so far. And, while I think obviously a song is a song is a song, but like, I think that
a good song is a good song.
A good song is a good song is a good song. While I do love the way that this was produced, and rarely do you get me going like, this sounds really good. Like, it doesn't, because I think that things doesn't matter as much if it's a good song. But the way that this sounds really like does it for me. It sounds like perfect. It reminds me of Sounds a lot like Under the Boards from Saves the Day, which we talked about a couple episodes ago.
What are your standout tracks on this song? Like, obviously, Daylily is the magnum opus. It's the anthem of all anthems. It's probably their biggest song ever. But what stood out to you on this album?
I really like Full Circle. I really like the first song on the album because it introduces you to them, and it sounds like it's got a little bit of everything that you would want to be like, oh, this is, it kind of goes, hey, this is Movements. Are you ready to continue to go on this journey with us? Like that, I really just like in general, like I like the entire album.
Here's a quote from the lyrics on Full Circle. It comes in waves and I'm pulled below. It's not subjective, it's clinical. Drown myself in the undertow of all my imbalanced chemicals. And the cycle comes full circle.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's like, it's awesome. It's done without being fucking corny about it, you know? It tells you exactly what it is. You can tell where they get their influence from, you know? Like, there's a lot of Title Fight, you know? Like, obviously, there's a lot of Title Fight in there, but and a lot of Spew, but they really, like, made it their own. Like, Movements made this sound their own sound, and I think that was another reason why this album was so stand out, because it doesn't sound like it's trying to be something else, but you can tell what these kids listened to growing up.
I really liked the song Deadly Dull, which is the song about Alzheimer's. And so I guess Patrick went to Florida to visit his long distance girlfriend. And it was like the first time he like wasn't touring. So he went down there, and it's like supposed to just be a full vacation. And he gets down there, and day one, his girlfriend's like, look, my grandma's on her deathbed and we got to go visit her in hospice. And so they go down and grandma passes away, and I guess the grandfather had Alzheimer's, and he was so devastated when she passed away. And about 30 minutes later, he forgot, and he was like, so let's go see G-Ma again. And then they would have to just explain to him like, no, she's gone. So it's just like this perpetual cycle of like having to relive that extreme pain of learning that your loved one is gone over and over and over again.
So it's like you every day with me telling me something.
Yeah.
You're Patrick.
Yeah, but it would be like, I don't know, dude,
it's like eternal sunshine on this.
Yeah, but it's like you're living a Groundhog Day of finding out that like your wife died every day.
Yeah, it's the opposite. Oh, it's basically like the opposite of 50 First Dates with fucking Adam Sandler.
Sure.
It's like
every day you're extremely devastated, and then you forget about it, and then you have to do it over again.
Yeah, it's like it was Drew Barrymore in that movie, right?
Yeah.
It's like if Drew Barrymore died every day. It's like if he fell in love and then died every day, and then he had to do it over again.
I don't know if that's exactly it, but
it's kind of it.
It's incredible to me though that he can write a song about like Alzheimer's and like
especially
have it hit like that.
Especially being like 19 and having like not your own perspective.
Yeah, like
I think is that's why I'm like, dude, this is a mature album. There's a lot of things about it that sound mature, right? It's like and when you're 19, it's really like me. And I think that taking a step out of yourself and looking at things from another perspective, especially somebody that's not related to you, especially somebody that's like, you know, whatever. Mm-hmm. Like is a really, you know, it's a difficult task, but it's also a difficult thing to look at and be like, how would this make me feel? And I think that's it's a testament of somebody who does have depression. You put yourself in their shoes and, you know, with empathy, you know, you have like empathy. And, you know, I think that this really came off in that way. Like this album really came off in a way where you're like, oh, this is an empathetic, depressed dude.
That song though, Deadly Dull, is where I did see the Brand New comparison. And it wasn't necessarily sonically. It was in the theme of the song. Brand New does have a song called Guernica, which is about Jesse's grandfather dying of lung cancer and how he wishes he could like shrink himself and fix whatever the fuck is going on with his grandfather. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
something that I noticed.
Yeah, I didn't, you know, it was mainly the feeling that I think, well, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I interpreted it wrong, which, you know, podcast of misinformation. but maybe that was it. But I interpreted it as people hearing Feel Something for the first time was the same way that they felt when they heard Brand New for the first time, was the same way they felt when they heard Title Fight for the first time. And, you know, for guys like us, that's important. You know, that's an important thing. You don't hear that all the time. Like, I remember the first time I heard Tiger's Jaw self-titled, and I was like, oh, cool, I'll never hear another album that does this to me ever again.
What other shit sounds like this that you like? You've already talked about Tiger's Jaw, Title Fight. If you like this, you might like that.
Those two bands for sure. I think this is another album that when I heard it for the first time, I was like, this is not going to do, nothing will do this to me again. And this album only from this band. No other album.
Okay.
Turnover, Peripheral Vision.
Yes.
Like, that's it. Just, you guys just play that album.
Yeah. What are they doing?
I don't know. Smoking weed? Who the fuck knows, dude?
That album fucks, and the rest of them.
There's a couple songs on the album that came out after that. Like the first song on the album that came after that was really good, but
it doesn't feel.
Guys, come on. Like, just fucking do that again. Please, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah, I wonder what happened there, man.
I don't know. It feels like weed. Like when I saw them live with, I forgot who I saw them with at the...
Oh yeah, they did do like a really like trippy thing. I remember they did like something in downtown LA and it was like really psychedelic.
I saw them at the Palladium and I was just like, you know that meme with a stick that's just like...
Come on.
Yeah, I was just like, Jesus fucking Christ, just please, you guys, just do one fucking song off that album.
Cut your fingers off.
Anything. Do any of them. Do any of those albums.
You know what band this reminded me of?
Oh, wait. There's also Fleshwater is a band that's
a new one, right?
Yeah, but they really sound a lot. It'll give you like similar vibes. It's a heavier than Peripheral Vision for sure, but I think that if you like this, you'll like Fleshwater.
Okay. You know what I wrote?
What did you write?
They're canceled, so it's kind of controversial, but those songs give you this feeling. Moose Blood.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember really, really liking Moose Blood, and then it was at the time when everybody was canceling stuff, and I was like, I can't listen to this anymore, and now I'm going to go revisit it, because I don't care.
R.I.P.
Look, good songs. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, that's all I got. You got anything else you want to say about this that we didn't cover?
Nothing. Just the fact that, you know, I think that this album will go down in history. I think it's really important to see, you know, that it was at a time where technology, where you could see people reacting in real time to how they really, like, how this felt, you know. It's same, like, if there was, you know, that technology when some of the bands that came out that were older that really liked, you know, it would be interesting to see like those reactions, but you could see something like this in real time. It's a different genre. It's like a hard genre to define. Like, it is ultimately like rock. Like, it's like rock emo.
The piss bands.
Not really even.
They're not even pissy. They're clean.
Yeah, they're like a clean piss band.
Yeah.
You know? And I don't know. I really respect movements for doing something different in a time when it was probably not easy to, you know, I feel like they could have gone one way and then they stuck with how they wanted to make an album. And it's a lot of respect for being, you know, so young and doing that and recognizing that. And I also just like the trajectory of their band. I think they're really great guys. They're a really great band. I don't have anything bad to say about them. Yeah, I think that's it. Probably, right?
I think so. I mean, the one thing that I wanted to add is that the decision to use Will Yip was very intentional from the beginning. And that was like the main reason why they signed to Fearless, because Cody was like, yep, sign with us. We will get you Will. He's in. He sees the vision. And I think, you know, Patrick, all the guys knew what they wanted. They knew what they wanted to sound like. They knew exactly what they were doing. They had a fucking plan. They were like, we're gonna be right in here with Law Dispute and Tiger's Jaw and Title Fight. And we want to be that, and we want to be the best at it. And, you know, I think coming together with Will made that shit happen.
I think it's also really important that if younger people listen to this, they can go back and listen to, I think if they resonate with this, they'll resonate with a lot of older bands that they've never heard of or listened to. Like even the early ones like Mineral and stuff like that, I think would be, I think they would really like that stuff. And that's important. That's important shit to me. So I think that's cool. I think they really did music a service. It was really nice to see their come up. It was nice to be a part of it. I wish Wikipedia would take the dicks out of their ears and just link us in some of this stuff. It would be so nice to get any sort of credit on there.
Okay, guys. Thank you for listening to CD Burners.
Yeah, and go watch Colorblind. I directed that.
And if you want to join the Patreon to see Daylily, the secret version, go ahead and do that.
All right, everybody. Have a pink sky summer.
Goodbye. Is it Pink Cloud Summer?
Pink Cloud Summer.
All right, everybody. Please welcome to CD Burners. We have a legend with us today.
I don't know about that.
Give it up for Mr. Will Yip.
Dude, honestly, like you are. I was at dinner last night, and like I texted you earlier, but I was like, I knew you were noted, but I was like, I didn't know that just people in like, I didn't know people like in general know production people's names. I was a bunch of dudes from bands, and I was like, hey, I have an interview with Will Yip. And like everybody went silent, and they were like, "You're kidding!" They're like, "You're kidding!" He's made the best album, like the best albums of all time. And so I went through, and I was like, "Oh, I know what you've done." And legitimately, dude, you have made my favorite albums of all time, like consistently every single one.
Thank you. That means a lot, man. That means a lot. That's my motif was, I never cared about anyone knowing my name. That's not, that's why I'm a producer. You know what I mean? I like being here. This is my comfy zone right now. You know what I mean? But the most important thing is that we put out consistently great music and consistently great songs. And that's all I want to do with my life. That's all I've been trying to do for the last 20 years. You know what I mean? So it's really cool to hear that people are listening and paying attention and liking what we're doing, so that makes me really stoked. Thank you.
Well, today in particular, we're going to talk about one of our favorites from your incredible catalog. It is Movement's Feel Something. And I know Morgan and I have put together a whole bunch of questions for you. We will probably veer off the path a little bit away from that album, but this episode is specifically about your work on Feel Something with Movements. And I know you've done 3 albums with them now.
Yeah, I've done everything they've done other than their first demo and a cover song. Everything else that exists of them in the studio or even live stuff, we've collaborated on. So yeah, they're one of my closest group of guys, man. I love those guys. I love those guys to death.
Dude, we had them play Emo Night before they were like really big when we were back at like the Echo Plexus, like smaller venue in not smaller venue, but like a venue in Los Angeles, and that was it was like one of the coolest moments I think in Emo Night like history is to have
that's awesome
before they were who they are now, Yeah. Dude, I wanted to just ask you because you're like, what style would you call a lot of the music that you produce? Because it's something between most music. And I was like, do you have a personal name for that style? Or
no,
these bands?
Yeah, that's funny because I've always had that question, like my mentor, my record label mentor, Dave Rath, who was at Atlantic Records for 20 years, for forever, Roadrunner for forever. He's the one that signed. Man, what is my phone doing? I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, but but he's the one that signed Turnstile. He's the one that signed me. He's the one that signed Code Orange, Tiger Jaw, and I remember he signed me because he wanted to do a record label based around this music in 2015. Him and Craig Collins said, guitar music is coming back. I don't know if you guys remember 2015. In mainstream music and mainstream radio, guitars didn't exist anywhere in mainstream radio. You know what I mean? It was beats, it was synthesizer, which is cool. I love that stuff too. But guitar music did not exist other than, the niches. And Dave said, guitar music is going to come back. I don't know when it's going to come back. It's going to come back, and it's so much of it is centered around the music you and your community makes. And I was like, that's crazy, to have Craig Coleman, who signed Biggie and Smashing Pumpkins, say that to me. I'm like, dude, that's crazy. And Dave Raff called it, he was like, we don't know what it's called because it's just not rock music. You know what I mean? It's not like, like radio rock. It's not just emo. Even though I do work with emo adjacent bands, you know what I mean? It's not just punk. Again, I do work with punk adjacent bands. It's not just like alternative. And he was like, I have to create a name for it. I'm telling everyone it's new alternative. So I don't know what it's called. When people say, or people ask me what genre of music do I like, whatever, what genre of music I like to work on, bro, I came up, with Lauryn Hill. I came, in '08 on her first comeback. I grew up in hip hop. I grew up in punk. I just loved great songs. That's all I care about. So in terms of genres, I never felt like I've really fit into a genre, which created this kind of new alternative sound. Because again, every Title Fight record we did sounds different. Every Movements record we did sounds different. You know what I mean? And it grows. Every Turnover record we did sounds different because I'm attracted to these people like-minded, like myself, where we're not sticking to this genre. We're not like, oh, we can't do this because it doesn't sound like us. No, let's just make the best songs we can possibly make, and hopefully people like it. And if they don't, hey man, we like it, and we love it. That's our goal. So yeah, I don't know what it is, but new alternative is very vague, so I kind of like that.
Let's stick with that. I also kind of just like guitar music is a great name for it. But like, dude, it's strange that you said like 2015 because we started Emo Night in end of 2014, like 2000, which is pretty much why we started Emo Night. It was like we saw that lull in what in popular music culture, and we were like, fuck, dude, we just we were in the entertainment industry and we'd have to go out to all these things, and we were like, we're not hearing anything we like. We would play stuff before we went out, and we were like, what if we just did this when we were out? And that's kind of what it turned into. It's interesting that you like really said that date in particular, because that's I think something that like I noticed as well. But it, especially with your recording, right? Like it sounds to me, this is like where I can kind of put it. It sounds like, I played in a lot of bands, and TJ's played in a lot of bands, and it sounds like when you would get that 4-track recorder, I don't know what it was called. I don't remember what it looked. I remember what it looked like. I don't remember what it's called, but we all saved up together.
The Tascam, dude.
Yeah. And like
the Tascam.
Dude, the thing is so sick. And you would save up with your friends, do it, get your room. And like the thing is, like when you're like 15 and like how you record it, how we wanted that to sound, and we were never able to do it. And it's truly incredible to me.
Wow,
how you've done
Thank
this.
You.
So taking it back to what you said about working with artists who have a vision. One of the quotes that I heard a lot from Pat when we were researching this album was like, Will gets the vision. He always got the vision. What was that vision that you guys had for Feel Something in particular?
Man, all right, so I'm just going to backtrack a little bit, and I swear I'll get right on track to that question because it kind of leads to it. When I first heard the demo, it was, again, 2015. It was like, I think in the spring of 2015, my manager was like, I just talked to Fearless. They just signed this band. There was like a bidding war over this band called Movements. At that point, no one's heard of them because they only had 3 songs. They weren't really playing outside of, their local community. And I listened to it, and I immediately heard something. I didn't hear the songs yet, and I told him that. I told him that on our first call. I was like, guys, I don't see the songs yet, but I see the vision. Again, back to that, I see the vision. I see what this can be, because it was more on the emo, almost progressive-y, because Spencer, the drummer, is very, very progressive-y, and he's very talented, very musical. But but I was just missing something. I was just missing this song identity in terms of like a hookability, right? In terms of consistent melodies, in terms of a cleaner structure, in terms of a more impactful song. But what I heard from the jump from those demos was emotion, crazy lyric power, insane lyric power, and a lot of riffs. And it was all like X Factor stuff. In terms of cleaning up songs, we can do that with anyone. That's like the easy part. But like the X Factor of having a band that has something to say, that has a unique voice, that even musically has a unique voice, that's the stuff I look for when I'm working with a band. Stuff that I can't provide, right? It's like the identity. Yo, that's your identity. Let's clean these songs up. And I see the vision. I see that presented in a way where anyone can listen to this and it can be accessible to anyone, where these songs are no longer these niche songs and these songs become these bigger rock songs, these bigger pop rock, whatever, alternative songs that you hear it and it takes one listen and you go, by the end, you're humming the melodies because they have so much. It's like the early demos, there were verses that were like the hookiest part. I'm like, why didn't that repeat? Why didn't this, you know what I mean? Like stuff that, a producer does. But so going into that LP, after working them with a EP, we did Alkaline Things before that, which was kind of like our feeling out session. You know what I mean? We only spent like a week and a half on that. I was like, all right, I see it, man. This is going to be still movement, still what people loved about Outgrown Things and the demo, but it's going to be, not to sound cliche, more mature. It's going to rock. It's going to rock, and it's going to have big hooks, which it does. So yeah, that was my thing. Is I just wanted that band to be more accessible. I don't want to not call out because I'm a big fan of a lot of these bands, but there's a lot of bands in our in the genre that we work in that are almost too punk, right? It's like, all right, they're not going to do that. They're not going to clean up the songs because they're going to do what they want to keep linear songs. Yeah, that's cool if you want to do that. But Movements, I think, had a lot of that same spark as a lot of these other niche bands, but they were down to grow with the song writing and grow with collaborating with people. So I think the vision was just kind of keeping it raw and honest, very honest, but be more accessible. Because I think there's a thing, it's kind of crazy because they're one of the only West Coast bands I work with. I remember talking to them early and they're like, we don't want to sound like one of those West Coast bands. You know what I mean? It's like their favorite bands were Tiger Jaw, Pianos Become the Teeth, Title Fight, La Dispute, Balancing Composure. I'm like, oh, all these bands that live in miserable towns, and hence we write really sad and really cool songs. You know what I mean? So, yeah, but they were writing really sad and really cool songs. So it was easy to get that album because that was where their heart was, even to the point where the drummer, we weren't doing drum samples. We were trying to keep things authentic and keep things punk. Not that I'm like a punk police or like an authentic police. I just want things to feel right. And I think they're on the same page. You know what I mean? Like, I think their aesthetic matched mine really well, even though, we always grew but where we were headed with our aesthetic really, really matched. And I think that's why we kind of just hit it off, man.
Dude, it's interesting that you're like, oh, one of the first things I noticed was like the lyrics, because I'm not really, when I first listened to a song, I listened to a song for a song. I'm not really a lyric guy, but what I did notice about Pat's lyrics and the general consensus of what people hear first when they listen to Movements and what they relate to is the lyrics. And it's, again, not something that I'm normally drawn to. It's usually after a couple of listens that I get into the lyrics.
Me too.
But what always has always impressed me with the albums that you have done and the sound that you've managed to make, something not perfect in like recording terms sound perfect and is exactly as it should. And honestly, when you re-listen, the songs wouldn't be the same or as good without that stuff like feedback and buzzing and atmosphere. And, there's a couple of moments of that in the Movements album. And not to the extent like the first Tiger's Jaw album or any of the other albums that you've done, but when we're talking about movements, was this something that you guys brought up during the discussion of the album, how to make that atmospheric, or those mistakes, or?
No, I think it's a producer's role to do what's right for the songs, capture what's right for the songs. And sometimes that's gritting everything. I've done records where we gritted every single note and we tuned every single note. A lot of my records aren't like that. My job, what I like to think that maybe I'm good at, is capturing or keeping, noticing, keeping the moments that are like, that's cool. All right, that made me feel funny. That made me feel something. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. A lot of music that are tracked at perfect 440, that are completely gridded, people can like it. It just doesn't agree with me. You know what I mean? I grew up listening to bands in the 90s. I grew up listening to hip hop and punk bands in the 90s that tracked to tape. Not saying I'm chasing that. I'm not. I'm really not. I'm just capturing moments that attract my ear. And sometimes those moments kind of happen, and I just have to recognize it, and we have to recognize it and make sure, do we like it? And sometimes it's too much, and we get rid of a lot of that too. But sometimes we're like, all right, that's magic, guys. We have to keep that.
That's dude, what a cool explanation for how I've always viewed your recording style. Like that right there really nails it for me, and it's like going to be something that I like kind of take with me whenever I listen to your stuff now.
Oh, awesome.
So sick, dude.
Dude, awesome, man.
You've talked a little bit about how big of a collaborator you are, especially with movements. And, I think I listened to an interview with Pat, and he said, by the time the band got to Ruckus, like they pretty much just went into the studio with you from a blank page.
Yeah.
On this album, I guess you mentioned that you had worked on the EP prior, and you guys were kind of feeling each other out and figuring out how things worked. How did you and the band collaborate on this album in particular? How has it progressed? And were there any moments where you felt like the synergy was particularly strong or magical?
So this happens with a lot of the bands that I collaborate with, that I have like long histories with. Rather it's, we just put out the 5th record with Turnover. We did 4 records with Title Fight. We did 4 records with Tiger's Jaw. Now 3 records with Citizen, and 3 records with Movements. A lot of records with Anthony Green. Sorry, my hinge on my phone stand is all messed up. It's a little loose. Sorry, this keeps tilting. But my collab. It happens a lot, right? So bands, the first time I work with a band, it's rare people say, oh, let's just go in from the jump and work from nothing. You know what I mean? And honestly, I don't want that. I want to see what this band is. I don't know what it's going to be like working with you. So I don't know what's going to be like working from the jump, from zero. You know what I mean? So just like Movements, the same with Circus. First time I worked with Circa Survive, first time I worked with Balance Composure. There were songs. There were core shells of songs, if not most of the song. And I'll say for Fuse Something, like a good part of the songs were already there. And there was a bunch of missing holes, but like I prove myself. It's not me looking for ways to get my hands on it. It's just being honest and saying, yo guys, this song is missing a chorus. This song is missing an outro. This song is missing a melody. Daylily. I remember Daylily was, I forget exactly what it was, but we didn't have a second verse yet. I'm like, yo, guys, we need a second verse. It was very linear at that point. It was like a verse, chorus, a bridge, chorus, and that was the song, And my goal was like, guys, that verse is too good. That should be the story. The storytelling in that song are in the verses. We need more storytelling and almost less hook. You know what I mean? We need people to feel something before they just get blasted with a hook. You know what I mean? I presented melodies, and me and Pat collaborated on melodies, and then he sat in the other room and wrote some lyrics to the new melodies. That was a really magical moment. was working on that's the Daylily, because I knew it was gonna be a special song. I knew it was. And then one of the last melodies and parts that we wrote in the studio was for the chorus of Colorblind. Again, that was another song where like that's missing a chorus, and we did it. And then one song that we really collaborated. I think there was only like one part. I'm actually not sure. I'm sorry, guys, if you hear it and I'm dissing you. But I think it only had like a part or two. And it's called Deadly Dole now that we kept. It was only a part or two, and then we really kind of deconstructed it and reconstructed that song together, all of us in a room. And it was my favorite one. I think lyrically too, because it was like painful. It was very sad, but the hooks were big. So those three songs, which, you know, three of the kind of bigger songs on a record too, other than Full Circle, were kind of really special moments on that record. Full Circle was one that was pretty well baked. That was one when they brought that demo, I was like, all right, we got it, guys. You know, we got the record. You know, because it was so well baked. I think the only thing that we added to that was like some transitions in an outro for that song or something, you know what I mean? But everything, you know, a couple of the other big singles, you know, we got to kind of deconstruct and reconstruct. And that's what I do. And then what happens is, you know, not to take it back to another example, but like Circa Survive, their first record I did together, they didn't want a producer. They're like, we're going to self-produce. I was a kid. I was 25 years old. You know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, whatever you want. You know what I mean? I just want to be a part of this record. And so I engineered it. But then I started to show my value as a collaborator, you know. And then the next record I produced and did some co-writing. And then the next record I co-wrote and produced. Like they bring in ideas a little more half-baked. So each record they brought in less baked ideas because they wanted, you know, some collaborative ideas. And then the last Circa record, they're like, yo, fuck this, Will. Just come to the garage. We're just going to start writing with you from the, you know, just to save the demo-itis so that we don't argue. At least we'll be on the same page. And that's exactly what happened with Movements. You know, the EP, it was very well baked. We touched things up. Feel Something was, like what I said, was somewhere kind of in the middle. They had songs we deconstruct, reconstruct. The next record, you know, bummer because that record is really special. But No Good Left to Give. But it was the COVID. They released it in the peak of COVID. Yeah. And yeah, that was more so where there were just ideas, and then we kind of finished it, you know, in here. And during that process, I know, I'm not sure if the guys remember, but there was a lot of like not disagreement, but just like demo-itis. Like we were like, you know, I was attached to things, they were attached to things, and then we had to meet in the middle. And then the Ruckus, which is now, you know, probably their second most successful release, you know, it was Ira, you know, we're talking about scheduling writing for them, and they're like, dude, guys, what if, you know, everyone's so busy, what if we didn't write anything, and then we just went into the studio and just wrote it together, you know, so that we can all be on the same page and all be positive and all be at the inception, you know, be at the conception of these songs, you know what I mean? And that's what we did. So that's kind of my production relationship slash more so collaborative relationship with Movements is something that kind of grew, and something that I do a lot of bands that, and I'm really honored to have that trust in me. And I don't take that shit for granted, and that's why we work hard in here, you know.
It's cool that you mentioned Daylily and Colorblind. I directed the video for Colorblind, and I directed the first video that never came out for Daylily, which was one of my favorite music videos I've ever done in my entire life. And they were like, I think it was too personal. I think it was about something different. You know, we all agreed it was like one shot. It was so sick. If you know, if it's cool with them, I'll like send it to you. I haven't watched it in a while.
You're sending that shit to me. Dude, I need to see that.
It was sick, dude. It really is. But like, speaking of, okay, so you did talk about like recording a little bit about Pat's voice, and I read somewhere that when you were recording, you said something like, this shit sounds like it has auto-tune already. Yeah. And there was a conscious decision to scream less, which I love because it made those parts that much more impactful. And like when you see like Kevin Spacey's character in Seven for the first time, it kind of gives that reveal, and it's that, which is not a question, but it's more of a statement for you to talk about Pat's vocals and an excuse for me to use an analogy.
All right. The thing that I'm most attracted to with music are obviously melodies, you know, that's the song to me. What's music? Rhythm and melody. You know what I mean? And I'm a drummer, but I was always attracted to melody. So I'm a very vocal-centric producer in terms of feel and melody. And the first time I recorded Pat, again, because I think the first demo that I heard, it was pretty well auto-tuned, you know what I mean? So I really couldn't hear the characteristic of his voice, you know what I mean? Or at least I thought it was. And he came in and started singing. There's a handful of producers I feel this way when I first hear them sing in the studio. I won't go down and list all of them, but I usually track vocals right behind me, like the vocalist is right behind me so we can be on the same page. And I turn around, I'm like, dude, you're a star. I said that. And he at this point was 19, 20 years old. You know what I mean? I'm like, bro, you're a fucking star, man. This is crazy. You sound insane. Number one, his control is crazy. He is incredible study singer. He's a very accurate singer. He knows what he's doing from theater, grown up, and from other stuff, or choir, whatever it was. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think it was choir. So he knows how to sing. And he has a special voice. And from that jump, and I knew movements, especially early on, went because Pat went, because you had that voice. And obviously, I think we all met in the middle with the music and the band and everything. But I think why people were really attracted to that band were the lyrics and the vocals. And he has such a cool tone. I was blown away. It was like, not to get nerdy, but when he sang to the mic, not only did I felt it was pitch perfect, it was like he self-compressed it so that it sounded good. You know what I mean? When you usually throw someone to a mic and start screaming and yelling, it's going to be inconsistent. It's going to sound bad without loads of compression. Right. It sounded good, raw. I'm like, dude, your voice has such a cool tone to it. And I knew that he was going to be massive. I knew it. And I think where he still has a way to go to reach the potential that he deserves, to reach, the recognition / potential for him that he deserves, you know what I mean? Because he is a special, special singer.
Will, we ask everybody 2 questions on this podcast, pretty much. Thank you so much for being on it. We want to be respectful of your time. I know. No,
dude, I can talk about this all day, man. I'm good, bro. I'm not holding a crying baby right now. This is great.
The two main things that we try to do with this podcast, I guess, are try to take people a little in behind the scenes. We try to dig for those nuggets that are maybe not the repeated talking points that you've talked about in other interviews.
Yeah.
Are there any stories that you haven't told about this recording process that you remember fondly? That's question 1. And then question 2, is there anything about this album that you would change?
Oh man, 2 cool questions. So we made that record in 2017, February 2017. And it was a crazy year. It was a crazy year for me. So January, I just made Quicksand's comeback record. My favorite band growing up. One of my top 3 favorite bands. So and I kept that a secret for so long. So and then in March, in April, we were starting. Yeah, in March into April, we were starting Turnstile, Time and Space, which definitely one of the most important works of my career. And then these were 2 records that I've worked with before. Not Quicksand, but 2 records that I was really familiar with the band. You know what I mean? And Turnstile, this would have been the 2nd or 3rd time I was working with them. And then here you have this new nugget. You have this movements. You have these young dudes. You have this new nugget of a band, and that everyone's like, "Oh, who's that?" You had such a busy year, such a crazy year, and then I had like Pianos Become to Teeth. I had their last record, or their 4th record, I think it was. So I had all these classics in our genre. But who are these guys? And we did the record in 3.5 weeks and the second to last day was my 30th birthday. And I remember we not that we were stressing, but the entire time we're like, oh, that's not that much time, but they're up against some touring. I was up against the Turnstile record, and we're like, yo, we gotta get this shit done, man. We just rewrote a bunch of stuff. And everything fell to place. So it's like one of those records. It sounds cliche for me to talk about, but it's one of those records that it all fell to place, even more so than Ruckus, which I personally think is a better record. You know, and for me, I think Ruckus is a better record. Yes, do something more important for movement fans, for sure, absolutely, I get it. But even a record like Ruckus, which I think I enjoy more, was strenuous. You know what I mean? It takes a lot. You know, feel something, everything clicked. So it's kind of hard to weed out like crazy stories because we were just going. You know, they had a lot to prove, and we did a lot to the point where, first week we're like, are we gonna get this done in fucking 3 weeks? You know, we actually didn't. So it's kind of a little cheat, but we knew the songs were done. You know, we didn't finish vocals, but we knew we're gonna be done vocals because Pat, lost his voice a little bit because it was a winter. It was a winter of 2017. They weren't used to the lack of humidity. They weren't used to the cold. So it kind of fucked with Pat's voice. So we kind of called it, and then we partied so hard for my 30th birthday party. I remember I had 14 Long Island iced teas. And the only reason why I didn't die was because we ate at Fogo de Chao before, you know what I mean, with a bunch of friends. And then we partied on top of the studio. My then girlfriend, now wife, threw me a surprise 30th birthday party. And it was really cool. It was such a cool sight to see because I walked into the room and I saw the guys in Title Fight there. I was like, oh my, what a surprise. You know, it was 11 o'clock on a Saturday at the bar on top of the studio. I saw the guys in Title Fight. I saw the guys from Men Singers. Dave Rath from Atlantic Records, my mentor. The guys in Balance and Composure. The guys, like, all these bands were there, and I see movements. So it was not passing of the torch, but it was like they were in our world now that they wanted to be. You know what I mean? Not because of me, but because they were crushing it. They were creating insane music, and I remember they got to, chat it up with, at that point, their idols, now they're peers, you know what I mean? And it was really cool. I just remember seeing that image. It's like, I'm never going to see that again. Right. Maybe at my funeral, you know what I mean? But I'm never going to see that shit again, you know what I mean? To see all these, it's like 40 guys and girls that were truly my musical family, and then to see a new young buck get kind of introduced to the crew, it was just really special to see, because it was also like I had to tell all the guys, like, just you wait. I remember telling the guys in Turnstile that, and the guys in Bounce, I was like, guys, just you wait. These guys are gonna fucking pop the fuck off. I will bet my livelihood on it. You know what I mean? And I kind of did. I kind of did. And and I remember waking up the next day after that, it was probably one of the most hungover moments I've ever had. It was our last day in the studio. And we knew we had a special record. We just had to finish a couple vocals that Pat did with one of our friends out in LA. But also, that record is, one of the reasons why I'm setting up shop in LA. You know what I mean? I've never, I love the West Coast. I love LA. I never thought I would, have to have a studio there. I'm the least, I don't know, whatever, clout chaser producer guy you'll meet. You know what I mean? I don't give a fuck. I don't care about who I'm working with.
It's wild because you can tell. Like, I'm just saying, I don't mean to interrupt you. But it's. I think that's like one of the reasons that I've been so drawn to the things that you've done, because you can absolutely tell from the sound of it and who you work with. I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, man. I just want to work on cool shit. I don't care. Again, same with Movements. At that point, when they were juxtaposed next to these big records, you're like, who the hell is this band Movements, and why can't I book in February? I'm like, guys, just wait, because I believe in them. That shit's going to be fucking cool. And they're the reason of me working in LA, because, there's, just like Pat, we never tracked anything else in the winter ever again after that record because of his voice. You know what I mean? So I was like, fuck, you know what I mean? Like, that is a problem. That really is a problem where there's a lot of artists that, I want to work with in the West Coast, and that we just can't make it happen because they're so far. They can't live in Philadelphia for 6 weeks. And I'm like, all right, we're setting up shop in the West Coast. So I think that's publicly the first time I ever said that. So hopefully, some Easter eggs be out there, and then and people start asking me about it. It's going to be really cool.
Awesome.
Dude, I mean, this has been, I could do this. I told TJ this morning, I was like, bro, I could talk to this dude for 5 hours easy.
Dude.
Easy.
Dude, easy. I think, yeah, when I'm out there, let's hang out and let's talk for 5 hours. And hang out.
That's it's like literally what I love doing. TJ always has to cut me super fucking short on all of this stuff. But
yeah.
Like, we have another meeting, bro. Like, let's go.
I know. I just like, I love this. I love this. And honestly, dude, I got to tell you, like, I think through all of our interviews that we've done over this podcast, producers have been the most likable and easy to talk to and enjoyable and easy. It's been great, like, talking to producers over bands. But, dude, okay, so in a lot of ways, like, you have created this amazing scene that has blossomed over the last couple of years. And I just, you did speak a little bit about 2015, and I was just wondering if there was a time where this ever felt bleak to you, like it felt bleak to us. And, if that's the first question, and if there was like a moment in time when you were like, oh shit, like the time has arrived for, this is pushing into more mainstream culture. Like I'm part of that, or has that thought even popped into your head?
I mean, that's a really cool question. Honestly, I almost kind of wish I thought about that, because I'll probably be a little richer if I thought about shit like that more, but I honestly don't, man. I'm lucky that things never felt bleak in a sense, because I kind of kept my head down and always just worked on shit. And even if it wasn't the most lucrative or the biggest bands or whatever, I started a record label, and also in 2015, I started an independent record label, and I was like, all right, me and my manager were talking and said, anytime we have downtime, don't sweat it. We have downtime, let's invest in a label. Let's go pick a band and produce them, you know what I mean, and develop them. And there we have, bands, artists like Barty Strange, you know what I mean? And like, we got to spend time with that. Even during COVID, it was like, let's pivot and work on the label. Let's pivot and work on some live sessions together. You know what I mean? I just want to keep being creative. I don't care where that leads me, as long as I'm doing something that I think is cool and I like. And I'm confident enough to the point where I know if I like it, chances are in the last 20 years, some people like it, you know what I mean? So I'm confident with that. So nothing ever felt bleak to me, even when the industry was crazy. I in 2011, 2012, we were doing Title Fight records and Balance Exposure records for like no money, for like a couple of grand, for, you know what I mean? And like they were getting paid no money from the labels because there's no money in the scene for those bands. And even during that time, bands like Title Fight were like, fuck it, we just love it. We're going to grind it on tour and we're going to do it. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. Truly, another cliche, those bands, especially during that time, myself, we did it because we loved it. We truly love this. You know what I mean? I joke about it all the time. It's like, oh, guys, I'm tired or whatever. I love this shit. You know what I mean? Like when I get off from holding the baby at 1 a.m., I come down here and I mix. You know what I mean? Like it's what I do. I love this shit. Those bands played Title Fight, Bounce. They went out there every day and played for, at that point, no money. Yeah. You know what I mean? And now you have, Super Heaven songs going viral now, in Turnstile playing in front of a gajillion people. That's so cool to see. It is really cool when you think about it. I just don't think about it. You know what I mean? I just literally don't. I don't think about it because that's just not my nature. I think it's cool if someone say, "Oh, all right, that is fucking cool." I'm glad that people are recognizing how special this world of music is and how special these music creators are. Because I do like to think that everything comes from hip hop and punk. Everything in mainstream culture, in especially Western culture, comes from hip hop and punk. Rather that's fashion, rather that's whatever, it stems from hip hop and punk. You know what I mean? And basketball. So so to be a part of it in a small way is very cool. I just don't think of it because that's not what got me here. What got me here is fucking putting my head down and working 14 hours a day. You know what I mean? With people that I love. You know what I mean? So that's that's it. Maybe one day, maybe when I slow down, I can start thinking about stuff and think about those moments. But it also, I'm so busy, so I don't like get to stop and think about, yo, man, this. I remember we got nominated for the second Grammy for Code Orange. Called me, like, yo, that's crazy, that's great. All right, sick. All right, cool. I get back to my session. All right, cool. You know what I mean? So it's like, so we're kind of nonstop, and a lot of these bands are. It is cool, not downplaying. I'm not trying to sound like a cool guy, but that's not important. That's not the important part to me. The important part of my relationships and me liking the music that we make. And yeah, that's it. And I know that no matter how bleak the world outside of the studio is, if I keep doing that, I'm gonna be okay.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be okay.
Dude, it's funny you mentioned Code Orange, and I was like, that's the first time that we were playing Coachella the same year that they were, and I was so starstruck. We were around every artist, and I was so starstruck by Code Orange. But we're also playing. It's such a cool feeling to be a fan of the thing that you are in.
That's so cool.
It really is fucking awesome. And
yeah, man, it's so cool we got the link because you guys were such a big part of like guitar music and making guitar music a thing again, you know what I mean? So it's really cool we got the fucking link, and hopefully we have many more conversations together.
Thanks, Will. We appreciate it so much, man. I think that's a perfect spot to leave this conversation, and I think people are going to love this interview. That was really fun. Thank you for being on the show.
Of course.
And let's link up when you get out here.
Please.
Dude,
please.
Thank you for making literally my favorite albums,
bro,
of all time. All time. I cannot tell you. I think I literally think that in the last 5 years, my most played albums are your albums. I give like the Glitterer albums, the fucking the Tiger's Jaw album. Dude, I love everything that you do. You have changed
Thank you, man.
my life
Thank you.
in the biggest way possible.
Okay.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.
Yeah, awesome.